Hi guys, well, here we are. For those of you who were in class yesterday know that we had Zoom problems, terrible Zoom problems, and therefore I'm making this video for you. For those of you who are who normally have class on Thursday, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I'm making this video for you. So everybody gets covered in this one. So this is all about the assignment. Everything is going to lead up towards the assignment. The assignment is, well, here, let's take a look at it. The assignment is a listening assignment, all right? So it's a critical listening, mix balance. All right. And basically what you're going to do is down over here is you're going to be entering in what you feel is wrong with each one of these tracks. And as you know, those tracks are available on Canvas under the assignment. It's assignment number 4. But before we get into mix balance, I wanted to give you guys some examples of mix balance and how, in a sense, how to balance a mix. And all this is going to be associated with you guys throwing on your set of headphones and listening to those tracks and finding out what the heck is wrong with those 5 tracks that I've given you guys. Each one of them has something either too loud or too soft, and you have to use your ears to listen to what it is. And again, it's critical listening. Are you going to get it perfect? Maybe some of you will. But I do want, since this is first time maybe you've ever really been challenged to critically listen to the balance of a mix, I'll be lenient in my grading. Just answering the question will get you a point. So answer the question. I mean, it can't be like, because I think Ren and Stimpy likes it. If you answer something like that, that ain't going to go too well with me and you'll get a 0. But I mean, if you give it a good try, it comes from the heart. It's this is what I really think it is. And therefore I think to fix it, you will do the opposite. So like for instance, if you think that the bass is too loud in the mix, well, then turn the bass down. That's how you would diagnose it. The bass is too loud. You'll need to turn the bass down. Ta-da! And that's the answer. Now, I can't tell you which one of those, if I even have one of those 5 files that have a bass too loud. So anyway, let's get into some Pro Tools stuff here. And I want to show you what I was going to show you guys yesterday, Tuesday, and what I want you guys for the Thursday classes to see is this massive mix that I'm working on, and how in the heck do I mix balance things to make them sound good, to make them sound natural. And when I say massive, we're talking a nearly 70 channel, 70 tracks, 70 channel mix going on. So let's take a look at it. All right, there it is, this massive mix that I'm working on. Oops. Sorry, there we go. So here's the mix, starting off with my solo channels, my solo instruments. And ready? Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you guys yesterday. This is the mix. It just keeps going and going. See that there? And going and going and going all the way to my submasters. And then finally to my master output. That's a lot of channels. There's a lot going on here. How in the world do you mix something that big? Let's see it on. So this is the mix page. Let's see it on the editing page. All right. So here's the editing page, starting all the way from the bottom. All right. Here we are. Whoops. All the way down to the bottom. Okay. There's the master output. Okay. And here we go. Let's scroll up. It just keeps going. You know what? I'm a little too close here. Keeps going up and up and up and up. And you can see it happening up here too. You can see all the different channels. I could make these a lot, by the way, I could make these a lot smaller. I don't want to because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. But there, I mean, now you're looking at basically the smallest level of all these different tracks, all these different instruments, and I'm going to be mixing these guys. When I mix and when I'm editing, I don't like to edit with things so darn small. So let's get it back up to normal size, because that's actually flipping me out a little bit. Like, whoa, it's too small. There we go. That's better. Okay. So The objective of this mix that I'm working on is to make it sound like an orchestra. This is a symphonic band. Each one of these tracks was sent to me by the members of this band. Most of them live, well, they were sent from me all over the United States. From some people from New York. I've even got one from Montana. I've got a couple from Ohio, Oregon, Washington. They were from all over the United States. And now I'm editing them together. If you want to find out how in the world I synchronized these, that's totally different. That's like video editing, and I'm not talking about video editing on this one. And the reason why is because this whole project is being edited together in a video presentation. But I need to make a mix of all their audio, and all this audio was sent to me via their phones. They recorded themselves on their phones and then sent me their video. I separated the video from the audio and threw the audio into a Pro Tools project where I'm synchronizing everything and now creating a massive, massive mix down. So let's take a listen to a little bit of it. Right now, it's really close. It's super, super close on as far as it's sounding right there. Pretty good. I'm right on the edge. Now remember, this is telephone quality audio. None of this was recorded using studio microphones. All right. None of it was recorded even in studios. In fact, if I have a picture of it. Let me show you a picture of it. There is everybody in their homes. All right, playing their instruments, and they recorded themselves playing their instruments, videoed themselves playing their instruments, and then they sent me the video, and then I separated the audio and from the video and threw the audio into Pro Tools. And you can see nobody's sitting in a studio situation. They're sitting in their homes, in their living rooms, in their dining rooms, in a back room, in an office, whatever it is. All right, so the audio in this is challenging. To say the least, this audio has been challenging for me to make sound as good as possible. All right, so let's listen to some of it. Doesn't it just make you want to kind of, bob along to the music? Hey, it's Christmas! Come on, it's Christmas music! All right, so you guys get the idea. It's sounding, as far as audio from telephones, it's not sounding half bad. Now, how do we make it sound mixed to where I'm listening in a concert situation, like a concert setting? Because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make them sound like we are watching them in a concert hall, and that's what that sound I'm going for. So let's go to the mix page, and I'm going to solo, or actually I'm going to get rid of my solo instruments. All right, so I'm going to mute those guys out, and let's take a look at, let's listen to the whole thing, just the background, so the comps, all right? And now let's put the solo back into it. Remember, the solo is that's the one that's carrying the theme. All right, it became, Jingle Bells. This is Jingle Bells right now. And so we get Jingle Bells. If we just listen to the comps, to the chords, we can't tell it's Jingle Bells. But we have to have an instrument or a voice that is riding above. All right, and I was explaining to this yesterday. It's kind of like having the band, all the comps, the entire orchestra is supporting and lifting up the voice or the solo instruments to where their sound, it's like a head above water. They are the water supporting the buoyancy to the body that keeps the head above the water, and that's why we can hear that head above the water, if that makes any sense. All right, so listen to it. Here's the comps, and then I'm going to throw in the solo. I'm going to stop it right there. In fact, I'm going to go back a little bit only because I like that. This solo is pretty cool to work with. Anywho, so how do we set up nearly 70 tracks? There's 70 tracks of audio here that we've got to mix and balance, because that's what this is all about, balance every single one of these channels to where they support the soloist. One instrument is being heard over nearly 70 other instruments. How do we do it? Well, the first thing is, of course, going section by section. This first section right here is my flute section. All right, so let me. It's really does not want to respond to me right now. Oh no. Okay, we're good. Let's go down here. Let's go ahead and get it out of this. All right, and ta-da! Isn't that weird? Every once in a while, Pro Tools will do that. It gets stuck with everything selected, and there is nothing you can do about it. So what I found out is if you create a new track, it unselects everything and goes to the new track. And now I just delete the track that I made, and ta-da, everything is fine. It's just one of those things. It gets stuck like that. Anyway, so let's go back to take a look at the flutes. Yeah, even when I'm making a recording, things can go wrong. How about that? That's called the reality of realism. So here's the flute section. Look at all their different settings. Looking at their waveforms, they're all the way up here at the top. Way up. I guess I could, you can use this and scroll and do all this kind of stuff. So there's my flutes. All right. And their waveforms are all basically the same with the exception of flute 1-3. Oh my goodness. That audio from flute 1-3 was kind of kooky and kind of nutty. But going back to the mix page, you can see that I turned flute 1-3 way down. Put that flute way into the back. But the other flutes all stay relatively mixed at a good level with the lead flutes, this one and this one. Those combined together are riding above flutes 2. All right, so I've got 2 flute 2s. They play the second part of the flutes. All right, let's listen to just the flutes. Let me make sure that I've got it on a spot where we can actually hear just the flutes. All right, here's the start of the track. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo just the flutes. Oop-de-doot-doot. All right. Not the oboes. And now I have to come all the way over to these here to be able to listen to the flutes. Okay, so that's the flutes in the mix that I feel works best for the flutes. And I go section by section and I set their levels, all right, to where this is the section, all right, so here's the clarinets. There's a lot of clarinets, all right. Clarinets go all the way from first clarinets all the way to a contrabass clarinet. It's a gigantic clarinet. I mean, imagine, it's so huge. It comes out and it goes way up and it goes way down and then comes back up ever so slightly. It's an enormous instrument. It's really cool. It just has a very unique sound. Let me see if I can just... I can... Yeah, I'm going to have to solo these guys. I didn't group them. I guess I could have grouped them, but, I didn't. So let me solo all the clarinets so that you guys can hear just the clarinets, which includes our bass clarinets. I got 2 basses, and here's a contrabass clarinet. All right, and now I have to go over here, and we're going to talk about these faders right here. All right, so let's listen to the clarinets. All right, and the mix that I gave them is what you're hearing. All right, and it took me quite some time to get them all balanced to where we get this sound, a really nice, well-balanced sound for the entire group. Okay, and so I did. I just went one section at a time and balanced each one of those sections fader by fader. All right. Let me go all the way down over here. Let me undo this solo. One of the questions that came up, which I'm going to interrupt myself, as you guys know, I like to interrupt myself, is, Tammy Ann, can you close the door, please? Thank you. One of the problems, not a problem, is panning. How do I set up the pans? Because the pans is extraordinarily important to the mix down. All right, that's part of mix balance is the panning. And I want to show you guys something. Look here, soloists. All right, well, with the exception of this, so I'm going to put them there just for the sake of the argument. Okay, I've got my soloists dead center. Let's find any other track that is dead center. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I see the ones that get kind of close. All right. These get kind of close right here. All right. Our French horns, they get really, really close to dead center, but they are not centered. All right. How about this? Way out over here. We're into my trumpets. Trumpets. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, nope, nope. Ah. Okay. My tubas. This is an interesting thing. I've got two tubas here, tubas 1, 2, and 1, 3. They're both playing, well, actually I have 3 tubas, but I took one of the tubas out. He just didn't play well, so I took him out of the mix. But these 2 tubas are panned almost exactly opposite from each other. They are playing the same notes. Each tuba has its own unique sound as far as the timbre of the instrument, because each instrument is slightly different, played by a different player. Therefore, the sound of the tuba is going to be slightly different from each other. But they're playing the same notes. The fundamentals that they're playing are the same. If you have 2 instruments playing the same notes, fundamentals, and you pan them exactly opposite from each other, the overall feel of them is that they're in the center. It creates, so if you have plus 10 over here, minus 10 over here, they combine together to create 0, dead center. The reason why I panned them that way is so that their unique sounds, the timbre of each one of those instruments has their own space on the left and on the right, okay? But together they combine to be the center. And I want that. I want the bass to be in the center along with the soloists. And the reason why I can put the basses, whether it's bass or the tubas, in the center is because generally speaking, not too many voices and not too many instruments make frequencies that low. All right, so those low frequencies don't interfere with the soloists or the vocalists' frequencies. So I can put them in the center. Plus, having bass in the center allows, in a mix down, speakers left and speakers right, or in this case, my monitors left and monitors right. The main cones are doing the same thing and they're moving more air in the room, and therefore gives a better bass presence in a room or in headphones or whatever it is. The only other instrument that I put in the dead center, the kick drum. Now, right here, I've got my drums, all right? We recorded the drums up here for this. And it is a mix down of 8 channels. So let's go down here and take a look at our drums. See, it's just a stereo track that I recorded at another time and made a mix down and then imported that mix down into this project. So believe it or not, this stereo, this right here, this stereo track of my drums is actually 8 channels that were mixed into a mix down. But I put knowing where this was going to happen, I put my kick, or knowing where these tracks were going, I put my kick in the dead center. Okay, so the only instruments that are in the dead center are my soloists, bass, tubas, and my kick drum. Other than that, nobody else is in the center. And the reason being is because I'm leaving what's called the center channel, the mono. All right, so if we can visualize left way out over here, this is far left. This right here this is far right, okay? And then right in the dead center is mono, all right? Mono center. All right, so we've got everything from mono center over to the far left, and likewise from the dead center here over to the far right. All right, so this area here in mono is called the center channel. Even though it's not actually a physical channel like you see on the screen here. They call it the center channel. It's a center area. If I pan something all the way to the far left, that's the left channel. If I pan something all the way over the far right, that is the right channel. And then there's, of course, tons and tons of different areas that you can pan them between dead center and far right or far left. Make sense? So my center channel is left open. The whole entire orchestra is either here or here, but not here. That one center channel is left open for my soloists. And that's how you should mix. And that goes for just about any genre anywhere. All right. Whatever the lead instrument or lead vocalist voice is, that is the sound that you put in the center. Okay. Along with your kick and along with your bass. Whatever instrument is giving you the bass goes in the center. All right. I hope that helps. And what I did is I made everything kind of almost orchestra-like, in that if you've ever actually attended or seen pictures of an orchestra, the conductor is in the center. And then the first row is the flutes. And notice how I did this. The flutes wrap around the conductor from left to right. And so take a look at the pannings of my flutes. Here's flute 1, flute 2. Look at this. Flute 3. We move over to the right a little bit. Flute 4 is back over here, but that's a first flute. So I kept my first flutes together. Flute 3 is the one that's kind of not so good. All right. Way out in the bottom of the mix, just kind of supporting it every once in a while. That's okay. All right. The second flutes. All right. Way over on the right, a little further on the right. So they give us this wide feel to the flutes. Now, in a symphonic band, generally speaking, from the audience perspective, the clarinets are generally way over on the left-hand side. So check it out. Starting with the lead clarinet, clarinet 1-1 is all the way to the left. 1-2, 1-3, 1-4. All right, so these are all my first clarinets, panned ever so slightly from here to here to here to about here, but not to here, not to the dead center. All right. Second clarinets, it's the next row back. All right. So we're talking about an arc, another arc, and another arc. All right. So we're now in the second clarinets. That's the third arc. And they do the same thing. Second clarinets, all the way back to where they almost reach, but not quite, to the center. Third clarinets is the next row away from my conductor. Dun, 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 dun. All right. And it just keeps going that way. Now, we get into our bass clarinets. The bass clarinets are usually off to the right-hand side of the conductor, over where the low brass and our baritones, our euphoniums are. So that's where I panned them. I put the bass clarinets and the contrabass clarinets together-ish, giving them each their own little space. Look at the numbers here. Bass clarinet number 1 is panned 49% over to the right. Bass clarinet 2 is 55% over to the right, and my contrabass clarinet is 64% to the right. Okay, and that matches, of all things, when we get into here's our bassoon. Look, a bassoon is a low double reed instrument. It's way over here on the right. Here are the baritones and euphoniums. Look, baritone. It's way over here on the right, all the way to the far right. Okay, see, these are all my low brass instruments. My trombones are considered kind of a mediocre low brass, not mediocre, they can get very low, but they're also not very high. So my trombones are on a far back row, panned over to the left, starting with first trombone, second trombone, 2 firsts, 1 second, and 1 third. All right, and see, they are all over on the right-hand side where I put my low brass, with the exception of the tubas. I want the tubas to fill up the room, so that's why, in a sense, they are combining together to be center. Don't want to go over that again. All right. So panning is really important, obviously. I'm setting all this up. Hey, here's my sax section. All right, sax section is usually, if the conductor is here, the sax section is usually in the second, third row all right, in the back and generally on the right-hand side. So there they are. Look at my alto saxes. Alto, alto, alto. They're over on, starting close to the center and laid out to the right-hand side. And all this is doing with using these pans is creating a virtual sounding wind orchestra. All right? So a symphonic band in this case. I hope that helps as far as my pannings. Again, little quick commercial. If I can get it to you guys in time, it'll probably be here in about a year, maybe a year and a half. Art of the Mix. It's going to be the name of the course. And it's all we do is study and do mixdown the entire semester. There is no recording. It's all mixdown and the study of the mixdown. And it's the art of the mix. Because there is an art that takes place when you're pulling any kind of a mix, whether it's 2 channels all the way up to this one. All right. Or how about the giant channels, the giant projects that are for movies? We're talking 200, 300, 400 channels that are mixed so that we can hear them either in a stereo environment or, like a 13.1 or a 15.1 or full immersion audio when we go to listen to our, go watch a movie. All right. But that's an amazing, huge mix. All right. So each one of these sections, I balanced them one by one. All right. Going clarinets, here's my oboes all the way through, my saxes, my French horns, my trumpets, right? This is the trumpet section, trombones, low brass, tubas. And then way out over here, I've got my glockenspiel. This is the bells, all right? This one that says the bells, that's my jingle bells, all right? The guys played jingle bells, all right? And then, of course, my drums. Now, let's talk about these things. What you see here are submasters. They are submasters because each one of these is linked to one section of the band. This is the flute section. Every single one of these flutes, flute channels, is sending it to, right? This is it, bus 1 and 2. All right? So the flutes are on what's called bus 1 and 2. Therefore, this fader here is listening to bus 1, 2. And that takes the sound of the entire flute section and puts it on one fader. Once I get the flutes balanced out here to how I feel that they should sound, okay, which they sound actually pretty good, all right? And and that was each one of these faders. I adjusted these faders to make them sound, hey, they sound good. Same with these. Going to the clarinet section. Each one of these, I touched them up, touched them down, whatever I did, all right, until I got this nice balance of their sound that sounds full and not missing any of the parts, all right? I want to hear those third clarinets give foundation to the second clarinets who are giving foundation to the first clarinets, all right? So each one of these faders represents a section. So check it out. Let me get to a part where the clarinets are playing. They're gone. I can control the entire section of clarinets. Once I got them balanced, I can give them more or less by one fader. Isn't that something? All right. Let's go back to where the clarinets are actually playing some notes. All right. Let's see here. Trombones, trumpets. Let me just put let me turn that off. Here we go. All right. Let's get to where some clarinets are doing some stuff. Here we go. They're doing a lot right here. That's too loud now. That's not how they should be heard in this part. They're playing a kind of a mezzo forte sound. Therefore, so it was medium loud. Therefore, they should only be medium loud. All right. So I can go again every single one of these and adjust them to where, like, let's go to the tubas. Amazing amazing when you take that foundation out that the tuba gives, that those tubas, those low brass instruments give to the entire mix. You take that out, it just becomes, wow, foundationless. All right. Right about there. That's where I want them. All right. I just heard the flutes play something, and it wasn't loud enough because I messed with their volume not long ago. There we go. Before it was too quiet. My ears just caught that. It was like, hey, I just heard the flutes, but they weren't loud enough. All right. So I just brought them back into the mix. Let me make sure. Let me go up to the flutes here. Let's go to another section of the flutes. Yeah, I like it. How about this little call that they do here? Yeah, I like that. I think that's about where I want them. All right, so yeah, I've got them back to where they are. Anyway, getting back to these submasters, these things control section by section these mixes that are all out here. All right, and then these submasters send to the master. All right, so right now in my Focusrite 18i20, I'm having everything run out output 3 and 4. And the reason I'm doing that, I don't really want to get into it, other than I wouldn't be able to record this for you guys to be able to hear. I wouldn't be able to use my Focusrite in Zoom, in a Zoom conference, unless I sent it out the back through inputs 3 and 4. It's just one of those things, all right, that I figured out. All right, so I hope now, so let's, again, I was throwing things out of balance for you guys, so let's throw some more stuff out of balance, all right? Let's make the, I love trumpets. I'm a trumpet player, but let's make the trumpets too dang loud, all right? All right, that's one of the things. Trumpet players are always like, hey, the trumpets need to be louder, and trumpets need to be louder. Right now, the trumpets are mixed well. Here it is, sounding fine. They're giving support to that. Let's turn them off. Here, when they came in, let's find another spot where they're playing a little bit more. All they do basically is the calls for this. How about right here? See, they're drowning out the entire orchestra. Yes, the job of a trumpet is to call forth the gods. I got that. But that's too loud. All right. How about this? Let's do the same call without them in the mix. All right. So let's put them back in the mix. This is a little too low. Let's listen to it. Somewhere right in that area. Now notice I'm pushing this thing really, really hard. And that's because I may have turned these down too much. So how do I fix that? Do I want to give myself some room here? Because there's only about, 4 or 5 decibels, and then I'm maxed out. All right, right here. So I can go down and make some adjustments. So like for instance, to do that, I want to turn down all my trumpets all at once and not lose this mix. All right. So how do I do that? I'm going to group them. So I'm going to hit Control and G, and it's going to bring up a group. Okay. I'm going to create a group. I'm going to call it trumpets. Okay. Oh, I can't put anything in there. I can't enter it yet. Let's go down and find my trumpets. Here they are. Trumpet 1. I'm throwing in all my trumpets. There we go. And it's called trumpets. I hit OK. And now it appears over here. And when it's outlined in gray, meaning that it's turned on. So now what I can do is I can take my trumpets and I can lower them here all at once. And if or raise them, what I really needed to do was raise them. All right. So that I can turn down this submaster. let's find another call. Because if I remember right, I adjusted a lot of their stuff to be nice and loud right there. Okay, let's find another one of their calls, because that's basically all they do. They're there to make these trumpety sounding calls. Okay, that sounded all right. They're still a little low. All right, maybe just a skosh more. Okay, now let's hear them in perspective to this solo section. Well, first off, the soloist. I'm not done working on this soloist. In fact, I haven't even worked on this section of the soloist yet. It's way out over here. All right, now let's hear the trumpets at the beginning, because they carry the theme, sort of, at the beginning. All right. Start the track. Here we go. Let's go up. Here we go. Notice that I adjust them. They were just that much too loud. All right, and I adjusted them down just a skosh. I know that mixing a band like this, a symphonic band, is probably not something that you've ever aspired to do. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Most people are like, no, I want to make beats. I want to be able to have, I want to have my bass line. I want to have some comping chords, or I want to have, so they call them pads. I want to have my pads. I want to have a keyboard, maybe a piano or some kind of a keyboard, and drum set, and then of course the rap. So this isn't exactly relevant, but yes, it is, because you're going to put your rap artist right in the center, and everything else is going to be around it. You're going to put your bass right in the center. You're going to put your kick right in the center, and everything else is going to be around it. Okay? You do not want to drown out those soloists. You're trying to create a space in that center channel, trying to create that space so that they can live right there. All right. There are other ways that we create space, and we use our EQs, and it's called ducking. Some people call it feathering. I call it making valleys, so that I make a valley or a dip in my EQ curves for a lot of instruments, so that the vocalist can fill in that dip. Again, art of the mix. All right. That's all part of this. It's all going to be part of art of the mix. All right. I think that pretty much describes this whole balancing out things, as far as even a huge mix like this, going section by section by section, balancing out those sections, and then with each other, and then balancing out all the sections with themselves, so that they make some sense, in which then the solo instrument can be heard above all the other instruments, but not so damn loud that it's like this. I mean, I don't want this. Or that's not enough. All right, that's way too far back. Yeah, the theme is there. I can hear it, but that's too far back. All right, they need to be. So basically, what you're listening to is if this is water, and I want them to be like this. All right. I just put them like this. All right. They're underwater. They're an upside. That's called an upside down mix, where the lead is actually underneath a lot of the other instruments. All right. So let's put them back in the spot where they're supposed to be. Not here. You don't want them too far forward, all right? Because then it just sounds, again, it sounds out of balance. They're too far forward, that meaning too loud. But you don't want them too far back, because then they get buried by the rest of the band, the orchestra. All right. You want them just forward enough to where it's like, this sounds natural. I'm happy with that. All right. By the way, for those of you who are going, how do you do that without any reverb? I'm sorry, without any compression. That was all taken care of before. The individual tracks were compressed, and then I did what's called, and a lot of people don't like doing this, I used Audio Suite to compress them permanently and then bring them into their solo channels. Yeah, I could definitely give them each one of their unique channels over here, like I've given this guy, this sax player, and his own compression. I could have done that for all of them. I was trying to keep it simplistic to start with. Now I've got to put them out. I'm going to redo them, and I'm going to have each individual soloist on their own track, give them their own EQ. It was just an experiment that I wanted to make it simple, and it didn't work. Well, it sort of worked. It worked for a few instruments. It didn't work for another couple instruments. So anyway, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, using Audio Suite compression, you have to take Audio 143. That's Pro Tools 101. And then you'll understand that. And also, it's also part of an Art of the Mix. Yeah. So generally speaking, I don't like to make permanent either EQ settings or write them into the tracks to where they can't be uncompressed or they can't be un-EQ'd. All right, that's writing them into the tracks. Generally, I don't do that. I did actually do that for those, and there were certain reasons behind that. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm going to listen to this one more time before I say let's take a look at the assignment again. Can you tell I've listened to this way more times than I should have? I've listened to this piece so many times. By the way, see how I have gone through and I have cleaned all these tracks? Cell phones make a lot of noise. There is so much noise in a cell phone track, so everything had to be cleaned. Clean. When they weren't playing, they got cleaned. It's cleaned out, all right? Everything is cleaned out. So they are truly silent when they are supposed to be silent. It's been a lot of work. And I've listened to this one piece, like I said, far more times than I guess any human being should be allowed to listen to. I'm going to go to one of the other soloists. Let's try alto sax. Okay, he's going to need to be a little compressed, but that's going to be later. Let's listen to one of the other trumpet players. Unfortunately, sent me some really lousy audio, and it took me forever just to make him sound this lousy. I just warmed up the clarinets. They weren't, after messing with their volume, they weren't loud enough. Start it over. There we go. All right. So that is Mixdown, balancing everything. Now, I've been working with this massive, nearly 70 channel, super mix. But this assignment that you guys are going to have, it's one channel is thrown out. And I want you guys to pick out what that one channel is. All right. Each one of those tunes let me see here. This Last Mile, this was a sextet. This is for a movie. This was music that I recorded here for a movie called The Last Mile. It was scheduled to be released in April, but COVID kind of knocked that thing out. It's going to be running, what do they call that? The film festival circuit. All right. So The Last Mile, I guess they're going to try to release it next year. How About You? This is an old standard, a jazz standard played by a big band. All right. And it has a lead singer. In Sonata G major. This is a flute quartet. Maybe it was a flute trio. I forget. It's either a quartet or a trio. All right. Give them your love. This is from my buddy Stefan Vaughn, incredible trumpet player, very good vocalist. Man, that was a series of sessions to be able to record that and make this mix. So there's only going to be, again, one instrument is either going to be too loud or too soft, and you have to find it. This one here, Winds of Change, is a symphonic band, a symphonic orchestra band, all right? And a lot of you may not be able to pull out, listening to it, may not be able to hear what is too loud. Go with your gut. Each one of these clips is like 90 seconds. It may not be apparent immediately which channel, which instrument is out. You have to listen to the whole thing from beginning to end and go with your gut. All right. May have to listen multiple times. All right. And then once you think, whatever it is. So like, for instance, Last Mile, the kazoo player was too loud. All right. Is it kazoo? No, kazoo. It's a kazoo. Yeah, and if you haven't, look it up. What's a kazoo? All right. So how do I fix that? Turn down the kazoo. Whoops. That I could just put that channel. That's basically what I want you to do. Each one of these is worth 10 points. I'm going to give you a point or two just for answering it. As long as it's, like I said, SpongeBob thinks it's fine. If you put down an answer like that, you're getting a 0. All right. Listen and put down what you think that the instrument is, the channel is, an instrument or the voice that is out of balance with everything else. And I tried to make them relatively obvious, starting with The Last Mile. They get a little bit more complex and a little bit harder to detect until we get down to Winds of Change. Winds of Change it's a great piece of music, but wow. It might be difficult for some of you to hear that, what it is that's out. It's, of course, I've been doing this for countless, many, many years. Cheapers. I'm 54. I started doing this when I was 16. When I started editing, learning how to edit is when I also started learning how to do mix balance. So for me, it's glaringly obvious what's wrong with Winds of Change, but for some of you, it may not be. This is due, of course, next week, right before the beginning of your class. So 50 points riding on this, and I guess, let me get rid of that. I guess that's it. Let me see if I can get my, let me see here. If I go like this, if I hit Control and turn off that camera, and then I can come back over here and turn on the camera here. Hooray! So I'll say goodbye this way. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I do hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And if you have any questions about this assignment, go ahead and just email me. If it's too confusing for you, we'll even do a Zoom. I can make a Zoom conference for you and we can go through some things. But zap me an email saying, Dave, I'm having a hard time. Here's what I'm having a hard time with. And I'll try to answer you. Obviously, I'm not going to give you the answer, but hopefully I can give you a hint on what to look for if you're just completely lost. All right. Otherwise, go from the heart. Generally speaking, your heart, or what your mind says, that first thing is like, oh, that seems a little loud, or oh, that seems a little soft. That's probably the correct answer. All right, guys, with that, I bid you farewell. Good luck on this. Have fun with it. Always have fun with it. Don't get so stressed out that you're not having fun. Try to have fun with this. All right. And I will talk with you guys later.